Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into self-discipline.
Yeah, and we're looking at it through the lens of Daniel Walter's The Power of Discipline. Well, a summary of it.
Exactly. And the mission here, for you listening, is to see that getting stuff done, achieving goals, it isn't some like fixed trait you either have or don't.
Mm-hmm. It's really a skill, something you can actually learn and, get better at.
That's the core idea, right?
Yeah.
Walter says it's developed, not innate.
Precisely. Like any other ability, really.
Okay, so let's unpack that. How do we actually build this skill? Walter mentions training the brain, like a mental workout.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The idea is you can strengthen specific brain areas involved in self-control.
Which areas are we talking about?
Mainly the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as your brain's, control center.
Okay.
And Walter suggests things like focused attention exercises, even just short bursts daily, can kind of build up that mental muscle, helps you make better choices.
Right, making it tangible. I like that. And building on that, this idea of pushing through the summary brings up Navy SEALs.
Ah, yeah, the mental toughness aspect.
How does their, intense training relate to everyday discipline for us?
Well, the SEALs are masters of perseverance, right? Under huge pressure.
Definitely.
A key idea is this 40% rule. The concept that when your mind is telling you you're completely done, you're maxed out, you're probably only at about 40% of your actual capacity.
Wow, really? Only 40%?
Yeah. So just knowing that, reframing it mentally, can help you push past that feeling when you hit a wall on, say, a tough project, or even just avoiding procrastination.
Interesting. So you realize you likely have more in the tank.
Exactly. It's about shifting that perception of your limits.
Okay. Now, something else mentioned is a Zen Buddhist approach. Mindfulness and simplicity for self-control. How does that fit in?
Right. That's a different angle. The Zen idea is more about cultivating awareness of the present moment. So you observe your urges, your impulses, maybe cravings, but without immediately reacting or judging them.
Just noticing them.
Yeah. And that noticing creates a little bit of space, a pause between the feeling and your action.
Ah, so you get a chance to choose instead of just reacting automatically.
Precisely. It allows for a more conscious, disciplined response rather than being driven purely by impulse.
Creating mental breathing room. Got it. The summary also hints at making hard work enjoyable. That sounds useful.
Yeah, it's about reframing again, really. Instead of just seeing tough tasks as a total drag.
Which they often feel like.
Right. You try to connect the work to something meaningful, like your values, or,
Yeah.
Even gamify it a bit. Make it a little challenge. Find ways to make it more engaging.
Finding the purpose or adding a bit of fun. Okay. Now, what about habits? Specifically getting rid of bad ones. The summary talks systems, not just willpower.
This is really key. Just relying on sheer willpower to stop a bad habit. It's incredibly difficult and often fails long term.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So a better strategy is to figure out what triggers that bad habit, what sets it off.
Okay. Identify the trigger.
And then you intentionally build a new positive routine to do instead when that trigger happens. You're essentially replacing the old pathway.
So you're building a new default response.
Exactly. Think about, maybe for you listening, one habit you want to change. What's the trigger? And what tiny positive thing could you start doing instead? Maybe starting this week.
So it's proactive building, not just resistance. Makes sense. And what about when that initial, burst of motivation fades? Which it always does.
Totally. Motivation is fleeting, isn't it? That's where structure comes in.
Structure.
Yeah. Consistent habits, routines. That's what carries you forward when you just don't feel like it. You build reliable systems.
Systems over feelings. Okay. There's a powerful quote in the summary I wanted to bring up. Without discipline, you're a slave to your impulses. With it, you control your destiny.
Yeah, that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't
Like
it? Discipline isn't really about restriction, even though it sometimes feels like it. It's actually about gaining freedom.
Freedom from impulses.
Exactly. Freedom from being yanked around by every whim or craving. You gain control, agency over your choices, and ultimately, the direction your life takes.
And that links right back to what you said about systems being more reliable than motivation.
Precisely. If you set up good daily habits and routines, progress starts to become more, automatic. You're not constantly battling yourself with willpower alone.
Right. The summary also talks about embracing the boring work.
Ah, yes. the unglamorous stuff.
We can probably all relate to that one.
Absolutely. So much of achieving big goals comes down to just consistently doing the mundane, maybe less exciting tasks day in and day out.
Showing up even when it's not thrilling.
Exactly. And winners, people who succeed long term, they understand this. They accept that the boring work is part of the process. It compounds.
That long view seems vital, which leads to another quote. You can't buy back the time you've lost, but you can take full control of your future.
Such a strong reminder. The past is done, you can't change it. But right now, this moment, you have the power to shape what comes next.
So it really emphasizes starting now, wherever you are.
Absolutely. Start building that discipline today.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the main takeaway really seems to be self-discipline isn't some magical trait. It's a skill.
A learnable skill.
Right, a learnable skill that gives you more control, more freedom to actually achieve the things you want. It involves understanding your mind, using practical strategies.
And building those sustainable systems we talked about.
Sure.
Proactive building.
Exactly. Proactive building, not just reactive wishing.
Well said.
So, here's a final thought for you to take away. Just consider one area, just one small part of your life where setting up a consistent system, even a tiny one, could make a real difference down the line. What's one small habit you could begin building, maybe even starting today? Thanks for diving deep with us.